Section 8.1, common factors. And we are going to be factoring using the greatest common factor. Okay, I will move the paper around as we go. Okay, when we have a polynomial to factor, we must first examine the coefficients. So looking at example 1, factor 7b minus 14. The greatest common factor of 7 and 14 is 7. 7 is the largest number that divides into both 7 and 14. If we look at the variables, the greatest common factor of b and no other variable is nothing. So the only thing that can be factored is 7. When we are factoring, we are dividing. So we're dividing out that 7. We need to multiply it by b minus, we do that 14 then divided by 7, which is 2. If we distribute to check our solution, we get 7b minus 14, and we are correct. Okay, we rewrote the polynomial as a product with the greatest common factor outside the parentheses. Inside the parentheses are the terms after each term has been divided by the greatest common factor. Example 2, we are going to factor 10a cubed minus 25a squared. So if we look just at the 10 and the 25, the greatest common factor, the largest number that divides evenly into both 10 and 25 is 5. Looking at the variables, the first term has an a cubed, the second term has an a squared. The largest thing in both of those terms is a squared. So that means we can divide out a 5a squared from both terms. 5 times 2 is 10, so we need a 2 in there. We have 2 a's outside. We need one more a minus 5 times 5 is going to give us 25, and we already have the a squared. If we distribute to check the solution, 5a squared times 2a is 10a to the third minus 5 times 5 is 25a squared. Example 3. (27b squared minus 18b to the fourth). The greatest common factor of the 27 and the 18 is 9. Oops. The greatest common factor of the variables b squared and b to the fourth is b squared. We can factor out 9b squared times 3 minus, we need to do 9 times 2, excuse me, to get 18. We already have 2 b's out here. We need a b squared to get b to the fourth. Again, distributing to check, 9 times 3 is 27, b squared, minus 9 times 2 is our 18, b squared times b squared is b to the fourth. Example 4. The greatest common factor of 2 and 4 is 2. Check your variables now. The greatest common factor of a squared b and ab squared is ab. Outside our parentheses, we're going to have 2ab times, we need 1a to get 2a squared b plus 2 times 2 to get 4, and we need a b to get b squared. Distributing, we've got 2a squared b plus 4ab squared. Moving to page 2 of the notes. We have the question here, what does it mean to factor? If we are factoring, we are dividing and rewriting the polynomial as a product of polynomials. Example 5. Factor 24a to the 4th plus 8a squared minus 40. Okay, we have a trinomial to start with, so that means we're going to have something outside our parentheses and then a trinomial inside. The largest number that factors out of those coefficients is 8. Looking at the variables, there's an a to the 4th, an a squared, and then no variables. So there is not a variable we can factor out. 8 times 3 will give us 24, and we need that a to the 4th. 8 times 1 gives us 8, so we just need that a squared minus a times 5 equals 40. Example 6. The greatest common factor of 14, 42, and 28 is 14. Look at the variables. The largest x that they each have is an x. Looking at the y parts of it, the largest y that is in all 3 terms is y cubed. So inside our parentheses, it's going to be 14. We need times -1 to get our -14. We have 1x outside, so we need 7 more inside. With our y's, we've got 3 outside, so we need to multiply it by y to the 6th plus 14 times 3 is 42. We have 1x, so we need x to the 4th. We have 3 y's, so we need 1 y. Minus, last term here, 14 times 2 is 28. We have our x, we have our y cubed. We are finished. Example 7. Factor y to the 5th minus y to the 7th. In this case, we only have variables. No coefficients to factor out. The largest amount of y's that are in both of them is y to the 5th. We still need 2 terms inside our parentheses so that when we multiply back, we still get a binomial. In that first spot, it is a 1. Y to the 5th times 1 is y to the 5th. We've got 5 y's outside. We need 2 more to get to y to the 7th. Number 8. Factor 6a to the 4th minus 12a. Looking at the coefficients first, the 6 and the 12, the largest number we can factor out is a 6. A to the 4th and a, we can factor out an a. Our first term inside our parentheses, we've got 1a, so we need a to the 3rd, minus 6 times 2 is 12, and we already have our a. Done. Example 9. 3 terms of a trinomial, so we need 3 terms inside our parentheses. Look at the coefficients first, 15, 20, and 5. The greatest common factor is a 5. Now be careful with your variables. P squared. And look at the q's. The largest q value they all have is q to the third. 5 times 3 is 15. We already have a p squared. We have 3 q's, so we need 1 q to get q to the fourth. Plus 5 times 4 is 20. We have 2 p's, so we need 1 p to get to p to the third. We've got 3 q's, so we need 2 q's, q squared, to multiply to q to the fifth. Plus our 5, we're good. 2 p's, we need 1 more p. Q to the third, done. Example 10. 9y to the sixth minus 27y to the fourth plus 18y squared plus 6. Okay. The largest number that can be factored out of all those coefficients is a 3. Look at the variables. 6 does not have any variables with it, so we cannot factor any variables out of any of them. 3 times 3 is 9, y to the sixth, minus 3 times 9 will give me 27. We still need that y to the fourth. 3 times 6 is 18, y squared, plus 3 times 2 is 6. That is factoring out the greatest common factor, section 8.1, common factors.